I learned this from our very own Sammy. Um, I've learned so much from Sammy and from Don and from the others. Sammy has a technique that's a lot better than this. But I asked him, I said, Sam, can you show me? And of course, his good heart always says yes for most things. So I learned this in just a short while in his shop. It's very simple, and I think he probably learned it probably from Jacques Versi and some others. And it's a great technique. It's good for embellishing. It's got a totally different look, and when Jacques does it, it's what he's doing. It just makes it look incredible, really. But I've tried it, and I'm kind of pleased with it. I like the way it looks. But it's just a process, and what I like about it, it encompasses a lot of different disciplines. There's carving, there's some burning. I think Jacques basically burns all of his. He makes his own points and everything. So before we get started, let's talk about what we're going to use. There's a particular kind of brush that I was taught to use. I'm sure there are others. Get your pen and pencil ready because I'm going to give you what you need. That way you won't go out and just buy anything. And I'm sure there are different applications for everything. Tim
told me yesterday that he will have some demo handouts that we're going to put on
Yes.
the website in the documents section when he gets them to me.
Yep.
Sometime this next week.
Sometime, maybe, hopefully. This brush is called a deerfoot brush. It's got a real shine your light down here, Jared. Put the camera down here where there you go. You can see it's got a very different foot on it, The little bottle, it's almost a stipple brush. But anyway, I come from Dick Blick Arts. It is a royal, 3/8 royal deerfoot brush. The number on it is SG393. SG393. I bought two of them. They're not expensive at all, and it's a resource that you can use over and over and over again. There are probably other brushes that will do just as well, but this is I tend to stay with what I was taught with. Just simple like that. This is what Sammy instructed me with, and I think this is what he uses and probably some others. So that's the brush right there. The next thing that we're going to use is matte acrylic paint, okay? The reason I've tried others, I've tried the Apple Barrel, I've tried Crafts Paint, and acrylic's acrylic. But you're going to have to do a color selection, okay? Your color selection, if we can see it down here, Gerald, is going to be critical to how this thing turns out, okay? So I ordered all of mine from Blick, and I started with the deepest color I could find, the deepest color blue that I could find, and that's this. It's almost a purple. So, and then you graduate up, and it says deep violet. It says blue, violet, deep, and then the next one's deep blue. The next one is blue medium. The next one is blue light, and then the next one from that is blue violet light. So they're graduated up, and there's a reason for it. I don't know all of the reasons for it, other than that's the way I was taught. Also, I ordered a off-white, and I'll show you how to use that. This is called the dry brush technique. Now, here's a piece I did right here that I carved, I burned. Go back to that side shot, Gerald. Maybe it'll. Yes, there. Keep it right there. That's the one we'll work with. That I carved it. It's a piece of cherry. I carved it. I burned it. Pyroed it and got all these different textures on it. And then I started painting. I painted it all one color. You start out with black, like this one. Low battery, it says. I don't know what that means. I guess that means the battery. Like I said, I'm sucking the juice out of these batteries. This is the piece we're going to use today. You paint them all flat black, and I mean paint them. Don't leave nothing showing. I assume you could probably paint them all flat red or flat yellow, depending on what you wanted to use. Again, this is the way I was taught. So I painted this egg flat black all over. I carved it. I came back and I burned these patterns in it, and I carved little facets on it. It may not can see it very well, and put some differences in it. You know, it's not all one. And then I started painting, and I started from the dark to the light. Let me see where I can get this where you can see it. I started from the dark to the light. I started with this color here. And when I put it on there, you can't hardly see it, and I'll explain it to you in a minute. You can't hardly see it, and you barely, just barely put any. That's the reason they call it dry brush. A lot of coat of paint on here, but they're so thin and so wispy that, you know, it doesn't take that much. The paints are kind of not really expensive. I think it's just $2.46 from Blick for a 2 ounce, but a 2 ounce will go a long, long way. So you can kind of see the difference in this egg here. You know, it's just that's the color I like. You can paint them any color you want, you know, anything you want. I got a little stand for it, and if anybody wants to buy it, it's for sale. But I'm trying to buy more tools. This is the first piece I did. Again, this is another inspiration from some work that Sammy has done. In fact, this is the first piece I ever did. It's just a box. I painted the inside as well. I put all of these carvings on it, you know, textures. I just played with it. I mean, there was no rhyme or reason to it. I even put some on the bottom a little bit. Again, I painted it all solid black, and then started with that same color blue and worked my way up. But the depressions here that you see remain black or blacker. Let me say that. And then stipple on the top. You know, it's just got so many different options that you can use. Now, a lot of people don't like for you to paint wood, you know. And I get that. I'm fine with that. But that's a neat little box right there, you know. What happened to my shot there, Gerald? Okay. So that's a neat little box. Sammy's got some beautiful work, and there's some work on the internet that would certainly surpass this on any day given. So that's another piece. This is the third piece I did. I showed it earlier today. I just like doing this. It's a lot of people don't like it, and that's okay. And what I've got to do with this is wipe down, put a good coat of top coat on it, poly or something, you know, something nice, or spray lacquer. I'm not really sure what I'm going to use, but you can see all the detail in it, and it kind of reminded me of some of the things I'd seen when I was scuba diving. You know, coral and the different colors, and of course when you're diving you don't see in color really, but once you put a light on it you can see it. But these are just little things that we do. So, any questions thus far? Okay, well, I guess I explained the fool out of that. All right, guys, let me see. There's my piece. You can't really see that it's got much detail in it. I don't know if you can or not. It's like just a black piece of cherry that I turned. That's better there, Gerald. So you can see all of the detail. I don't even know where that camera's at now, Gerald. So whatever, there it is. Let me back up a little bit. Yeah.
I can zoom in on it better than you do.
Okay, we'll zoom in on it right there. There you go. Good deal. So you can see all the little. I did carving. I did burning. I did a little spiral technique. I did. Just some of it all. There's no rhyme or reason to this. There's some of that little texturing I like to do right there. So you start out clean. Here's how we're going to do it. You start out with the darker color. Let me get it right here where you can see. And when I say a drop, I mean a drop. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. Does everybody see that little drop of paint?
Yep.
See, that's not much. You know, there it is. Right here. That's going to go a long, long way. All right? So what you have to do, I don't know if you can get a good shot on this or not, Gerald. Can you show my brush? Is it washing out? You touch the corner, guys. Just barely get any paint on it whatsoever. Any at all. Just a little. What I have done is just here on my hand. It's still not like it needs to be. All right, so what I'll do is come right here, if everybody see, and just barely brush that on. Just barely. You're not going to be able to see it at first. Just barely, you're just touching the high spots. I'll get some more on it. Your hand will be covered by the time this is over. If you were here, you could see that it's picking up a little bit of color. It's just the least little bit. And some people would go all over it. It's all up to you. It's just depending on what you want to do. What is that Bob Ross says? It's your little tree. Put it the way you want it. This gives me time to think. Now, if you get too much on it, that's too much, you just take your finger. Just like that. Just barely touch it. Just barely touch it. Jacques Versi has some pieces that's done this way that are actually, if I understood the article correctly, are actually in the Smithsonian. I mean, his work is incredible, incredible. I would like to take a class with him one day, but with this COVID and all, you just don't know. So with that, there's just the slightest bit of hue. My brother-in-law is an architect, and he and I were talking about color and composition. And I was explaining to him what I was doing. He said, yeah. He had some big 6-letter word for it. I don't, how architects have a way of explaining things. He said, what you're doing, you're building up value. Y'all can just the light is showing that more than I can see it. You can just barely see it here in my hand, but on the camera you can kind of see it. And what I like to do is just fade it out. Just like that, all the way. Alex, my brother-in-law, says you're building up value. And he said it makes the colors much more rich. You can see some of Sammy's work. It's just extremely rich. That's the only way I can describe that. Jacques Versi, Sammy's right there with him. But the view, the tone, if you would, the value of color in that piece, it just takes on a rich color. So now that I'm through with that color, and now what I learned to do, because I'm not very good with color, believe it or not. And I learned this from Sam. I have to number mine in sequence, okay? And that's what I did on the top of this bottle. I've got number 1. Right here is number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so the thing is, now that I've done this color, I'm going to go to the number 1. I should have labeled that, but I got my numbers off. I'm not very good at math either, so. That's just a little bit lighter. Just the tiniest bit. Just the tiniest bit. Go to the hand, make sure, if you get paint off on your hand, you got too much. Now this is where the white will come in. I always take a little bit of white to the side. and I'll show you why in a minute. So we go here, and you can come back to this blue, and that'll change that color totally again. So you're kind of in between, okay? All right. It's a process, guys. It's a slow process. It is definitely a slow process. And I'm not going to do this whole cap, but you'll get to see. And you just light. I'm not pressing hard at all. I mean, it's just a very light pull on this brush. Super light. Do I have any questions so far? Y'all going to sleep? Are we still on? Are there anybody here? You gotta want to do stuff like this, and it's good for embellishing. You'll see that's a little too much. But even if you get too much, it kind of gives it another tone, you know. So now I can come into this lighter color, and you can see it start picking up. I always start with a darker. I guess you'd be a moot point if you went the other way around. Now, let me say this. You can get a cheaper. Walmart has apple barrel paints. It's acrylic as acrylic, pretty much. But you're going to have a really terrible color selection. You can't get the in-between colors, as it were. So we'll just keep putting this on. It's a slow process, and I guess I need to quit apologizing for it because they knew what it was when I got started. So, but yes, yes.
At any point, do you per se clean the brush, or you just blot it out?
I don't clean it. I may brush it off a little bit. I don't have a like you do with some like with the gourd paints, you'll stop and clean, to separate the colors. Color separation right here is really not the point. It's more of a blend. And it's just a very light touch. So no, I don't normally clean out. Now, I probably should. Nobody told me that I should clean that brush. Sammy, you still there?
I don't think so.
Okay, I guess he went to the woods. All right, so here's where that off-white comes in. I get a touch of the off-white, mix it with that last blue. Well, there may not be anybody by the time I get done with it. Do y'all see what it's doing? Is there anybody there, Gerald?
You can start seeing the color come out now.
Yeah, that's what I say. Sure. Yeah, that's a great question, Lynn, and I'm fixing to show you that very thing. That's exactly the reason that we're here. And I thought about it earlier. That's a little dark, light right there.
Have you got some other colors?
Yeah, look in that box right there, Gerald, in that second one. You'll see the numbers on it. It's got some green on it. Just any color green you find will be fine. And there's hundreds of colors one can use, okay? The color combinations are incredible. I have thought about painting a piece, instead of painting it black, paint it red and come back with the yellows, or blues, or, this is one of my favorite textures right here. I don't know if you can see that, but that really lights up, Does it have to be perfect? It's all up to your choice. But let me get some more blue on here, and we'll swap up, and I'll show you what the green does to it. The green really makes it. And the further out on the piece I come, a lot of times I'll just start fading it. See, that's too much paint. That's way too much paint. Take your little hand and erase it. And go across the high spots. I don't know if y'all can see this coming out or not. You know, it may not. Y'all see what it's doing? It's just light touches all the way around it. It makes the piece look old if you don't know the truth about it. So you go all the way through these. We'll go up another color or two, and then we'll do some greens. Gerald, get the yellow out. There's a yellow paint in there. Get that number 3 yellow. Beg pardon?
Should be. You kind of got me there. You should be seeing.
What are you seeing?
No, that's your video.
What does he see?
You know, it should be on speaker view, not gallery view.
Well, I'm not speaking, so I guess you probably won't see it, but you see how it's starting to build up, right?
The only other thing I can think of is to log out and log back in.
I'm still going to be here a while, Rex. So, all right, so that, you know, you can go on with different blues, but for the sake of time, we'll start lightening it up. Let me get into some white, a little blue. This is the dry brush technique. You can, you know, I've thought about using this on the rims of platters. I think it would make a pretty Christmas ornament. You know, it's just time consuming. Of course, if you're retired like I am, you ain't got nothing but time, you know, so. This is the dry. Do y'all see how it's starting to? The point is you want it to kind of to fade, you know, start fading out.
You can do this while you're watching TV as long as you don't get in your wife's favorite chair.
Well, yeah. But see, if I did this in the house, then I'll have other things to do. Hey, can you go get me? No, I cannot. You know, I'm in the middle of a masterpiece here, so, you know. Okay. So, I don't know if you can see that working out there.
Bring it back towards you a little. There you go, right there.
So you can see how that technique is working. Hang on, Gerald. There you go. So, there you go. Yes. Well, actually, it will. You just have to go at it differently. All right, for example, can you see that egg? Wait a minute, let me find it. Okay, if you'll notice, this is all textured, the dark blue. Do you see that? This is not. This has just got little dimples in it. But for the most part, it's not textured. So what you would do is just splotch it on like you see here. You see That kind of gives it depth, you know, in places. Does that make sense? You see that? It's different, you know. Yeah, you can do it. You just have, and all I did here was just highlight the edges. That's all I wanted it to do. And it's not perfect. It's not painting by numbers. This is not Bob Ross by any means. But I just wanted to go around the corners, and what highlights it caught, and what it didn't, it didn't. It is a different color. It's a light green. That's where we're going right now. This is, yeah, all of this lighter color is a light green. See? And very little of it. But I thought it just made a really pretty piece, you know. And it was an experimental piece. The top is that green. The top is the green against the blue, against the purple. It's green, faded out to blue, to all the way down to a dark purple on the bottom, as you can see. And that's basically what we're fixing to do here. I've never used the yellow and the green together, so I'm excited about that. So let's put a little green on there. We'll start with the darker green, if this works. Some of my paint got kind of old. I used some of my paints from back when I was painting bass lures. I used to custom make bass lures till I found out I could make more money doing wood turning. Yeah. Yeah. I used to tell folks all the time, you know, there's two kind of, they say, can you make me a bait that'll catch fish? I said, yep, I can. And there are two kinds of fish baits. One to catch fish, and the other to catch the fishermen. So it's just depending on what you want to pay. I learned that when I worked for Action Lure Company. Can everybody see this piece now? That's a good view right there. So this is going with the green. I think, Trey, if somebody asked about the green. Very light. Very light. Just light, 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 light. Light, light color. And you may not want to paint it all this color. You know, it's just highlighting, really. That's basically all you, that's too much, see, so you have to wipe that off. But it will pick up every little piece of detail that you have, every little mark. You can swirl it around sometimes like this and it just gives it a different look altogether. All right, let me get some of this going here. I want to highlight these little dots right here. It's just really different, and what I'll do is try to keep everything going in the same direction as far as your, you know, wiping it out. That's too much. So there's just so many techniques. I hope that I'm challenging or, you know, giving you guys ideas. You know, I mean, it's just, I'll put more in the middle. See, that's really starting to show up, you know. I don't know if you can see that or not. It looks better here in person than it does on the camera. I'll put a little more green on it so you can kind of understand what we're doing. There's so many colors and appliques to it. You don't want any hard lines, okay, with your colors. In other words, you can change colors, but you don't want any lines like you drew it with a Sharpie. At all. I do not dare say that I invented this. I had to learn this from Sam, but he was gracious enough to show. Of course, his technique is, well, y'all know Sammy as well as I do. So So you see how that turned out. The color may not be showing quite as well, but you can see that this shows up brighter than this, but yet you can see that circle. So, you know, you can fade it in, fade it out, however you want to do it. Let's try a little of the lighter green, then we'll do a yellow. And you know, I can bore you all day. You probably got other things to do. You can come in with the white now and touch and get some of that white in there. Maybe a little of that. Yeah, it was a green. Yeah, it says fresh foliage green. They got, you know, all of these companies have their own name for red, and you'll be surprised how many blues there are, you know. So when I was the fire chief, we spec'd out some new fire trucks. I went to Appleton, Wisconsin to help lay out the design and everything. He said, well, what color you want? I said, well, red. Fire trucks are red. He said, what color red? And that showed my stupidity. So we went into the body shop, and I kid you not, there must have been 200 colors of red. I've never seen so many red in my life. I thought, well, you just pick out one that's like a fire truck, and I left. So there was nothing else I could do. I didn't know what to tell him. I mean, it's simple, this process, but it's got a lot of ways you can add to it. I'm just going to keep putting the light green on it. This is going to make it even more space age looking. I don't mean to bore you guys, but this is what you wanted to see. This is what they said. So, but you can see a Christmas ornament, you know, with paint it white and then come back with blue on the top, or paint it blue and come back with the white and the red or the green, or you know, or whatever color you would think. And you see how it just continues, sir. Well, I appreciate you saying that, and would be more than glad to do it. As far as that, once we get our shop, you know, days set up, if y'all want to come to my shop, some of you, I can't have a lot because my shop's not very big, and you know, we'll have coffee and cakes, and we'll paint. You know, I'll show you how to do it. Let you do it. That's what Sammy did. See, that's the thing about Sam. I know he's not here yet. I mean, he's probably gone. But he showed me how to do it, and then he allowed me to do it, you know, and that's what I'll do. That's the way I teach anyway. It's kind of like the way the doctors are taught. All doctors go through that, you know. I'll do it, you watch. We'll do it, then you do it, and I'll watch. So that's the way that's the way they teach medicine, and that's the way I teach in my shop. But here comes the yellow. Let's see what it does. Mind you, this yellow is coming on top of green and blue, you see. So it's going to change the color value altogether from what you see in the pan. Altogether. Sir? Yeah. Well, they say that. That's what they tell me. But you know, I tried the diet, and there was some kind of special protein, this, that, and the other. And the only thing I didn't like about that diet was I was hungry. Yeah, and when you like food like that, and I got to do something. I don't know what yet. I can't walk. My sciatic nerve prevents me from getting out much to walk. But I do what I can. Yes, sir, I have. Thank you, Ed. Well, he's telling the truth. I mean, you know, I'm not.
The bad word here is diet. It's change of lifestyle.
What's the fun in that? Well, whatever. You know, my granddaughter comes up with stuff all the time. Could I have that yellow, a little lighter yellow in there, Gerald? Number 5 right there will be fine, and then we'll wrap this up. Thank you. She was talking about essential oils. You know, the lavender and anise and chamomile and just all kinds of essential oils. And I thought about it. I said, you know what my favorite essential oil is? She said, no, Papa, what is it? I said, bacon grease. I just love it. So, any questions, guys, with what I'm doing? Oh yeah, that's the point. If you can do this and still get a lot of paint off, you got too much paint. It takes a little practice like everything else. But I could go all the way through this and keep lightening the paint up, lighter and lighter, till it's almost white on the bottom. You know, I'm just doing some of the tops here. But watching somebody else paint ain't exactly the thrill of a lifetime, but y'all can kind of see the point. And I would be glad to show this again. You know, it does better in person. But at the end of the day, that's it right there. That's hang on a minute. Beg pardon? No. No, I'm going to be honest with you about the drying. That was funny. It's kind of like going to a church business meeting. There ain't nothing sorrier, really. I'm telling you, it's just nobody cares anyway. But with this, what I learned to do when I was making lures, I'd use the same paint. I'd put a layer on, and then I'd get a hairdryer, a little small hairdryer, and I'd hit it. And it don't just dry that paint. There's a difference in that paint being dry. This paint is basically dry to the touch, but it's not cured. There's a difference. There's a difference. So you can take a little hand dryer and hit that, and it will set that paint. Now, what makes it really pop, if you come back with some Danish oil or shoot it with a little lacquer, just to fine, or buff it. You know, once you get that poly on it to seal it, you can come back very lightly and buff it on your wheel or a wheel. I wouldn't use your main wheel. But gentlemen, that's it. That's how it works. And you use this white, this off-white, sparingly. Now, let me say this. If you did a piece like this, and you had this instead of me using a plastic plate, go to like Hobby Lobby where they have vellum in envelopes, you know, and you put those colors. You obviously use this, but put the colors that you used on this piece of vellum, frame it, and then when they buy this and they get that color chart, it kind of goes with it, kind of a picture, you know. This is what Jacques Versi says. So, any questions, guys? Any comments?